Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gorangi Radhe Vrindaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chev Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudire. Hello, Sri Radhe Govind Bhagwan ki Jai. Hello, Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Hare Krishna Tarun. हरे कृष्णा, कैसे हो भाई?
बस ठीक, बिजी हो रहा है।
बिजी? अभी तो कन्वेनर बन रहे हो MMA के।
बिजी हो रहे हैं इसीलिए तो।
हाँ।
पता नहीं कैसे क्या होगा।
होगा सब अच्छा हो जाएगा। मॉरिस या
आप
इज
तो
गुड।
हो ना।
हाँ बिल्कुल, वी आर बिहाइंड यू।
नहीं, इसमें बिहाइंड नहीं, इसमें आगे आने से होगा काम।
अभी हम लोग एक अक्टूबर में वी आर डूइंग अ गेट टुगेदर फॉर साउथ ईस्ट, सो विल टॉक अबाउट इट। इफ यू वांट टू शो अप जस्ट कम ओवर स्मोकी माउंटेन्स में।
ओके।
20-25 फैमिलीज रहेगी, 25 फैमिलीज।
ठीक है,
तो बताता हूँ डिटेल्स।
ठीक है ना, साउंड्स गुड।
लास्ट वीक ऑफ अक्टूबर।
ठीक है, साउंड्स गुड, बताना।
हरे कृष्णा ईशा।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।
सो ऑलराइट, सो स्टार्ट करते हैं अपन। तो कल हम लोग रीडिंग 3 I think 3.18 पढ़े थे। And okay. So we were reading 3.18 yesterday. जहाँ पे Maharaj Nabhi, and as we know, right, all the priests, they were doing the prayers, right? They were doing the yajna to invoke Lord Vishnu. And then because Maharaj Nabhi wanted a son who is like Lord Vishnu, and for that they were doing tapasya. So heart tapasya, and then Lord Vishnu appears. So that's what we were reading. So yesterday we were reading that Lord Vishnu appears, and then he is speaking to Maharaj Nabhi and all the priests. And Maharaj Nabhi's wife is Merudevi. And then what Lord Vishnu is saying is, since I cannot find anyone equal to me, right, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion and thus advent myself in the womb of Merudevi, the wife of Maharaja Nabhi, the son of Agnidra. So that's what Lord Vishnu promises to Maharaj Nabhi. And as we know, Maharaj Nabhi is none other than son of Agnidra, who also does lot of tapasya, and Agnidra is son of Maharaj Priyavrat, who is son of Shambhu Manu. Shambhu Manu is son of Lord Brahma. So that's what we were reading yesterday. And then let's start with the next shlok, Isha.
Iti nishamayantya Merudevyā patim avidhyayantar dave Bhagwan. Shukadev Goswami continued, after saying this, the Lord disappeared. The wife of King Nabhi, Queen Merudevi, was sitting by the side of her husband, and consequently she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा। या तो सुखदेव गोस्वामी बोल रहे हैं, किसको बता रहे हैं सुखदेव गोस्वामी जी? Whom is Sukdev Goswami ji is talking to? Yeah, the Srimad Bhagavatam is being recited by Sukdev Goswami ji, right? To Parikshit Maharaj, right? Remember? That's where the Srimad Bhagavatam is being read. And so he's saying that after that the Lord disappeared, but this was also heard by Merudevi, who is wife of Maharaj Nabhi. Yeah. And it says here that according to Vedic injunctions, one should perform sacrifices in the company of one's own wife. So whenever you are doing yajna, I think it's good to be together as per the Vedic injunctions. So, saptaniko dharmam acharet. Religious rituals should be performed with one's wife. Therefore, Maharaja Nabhi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side, Merudevi. Yeah. Tarun?
Praharshi tasmin eva Vishnudata Bhagwan Paramarshibhihi Prasadito Nabheha Priya Shirishaya Tad Avarodhyayane Merudevyam Dharmam Darsayitu Kamo Vata Rasananam Shranamananam Risnim Udharva Manthinam Shuklaya Tanu Vavatara. O Vishnudatta, Parikshit Maharaj, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was pleased by the great sages at that sacrifice. Consequently, the Lord decided to personally exhibit the method of executing religious principles as observed by brahmacharis, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, and grahasthas engaged in rituals, and also satisfied Maharaja Nabhi's desire. Consequently, he appeared as the son of Merudevi in his original spiritual form, which is above the modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, Tasmin eva Vishnu Datta. Who is Vishnu Datta? Who is also known as Vishnu Datta. Yeah. So Parikshit Maharaj, she says here, oh Vishnu Datta Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah. Parikshit Maharaj is also known as Vishnu Datta. And do you know why is that? If you remember, Parikshit Maharaj's mother's name is what? Whose son is Parikshit Maharaj?
Dehuti?
No. Dehuti is, see, Dehuti and Karda Muni, they had 9 daughters and they got married to 9 Rishi Munis and all that, right? But Parikshit Maharaj is son of Abhimanyu.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember? And Abhimanyu's wife was Uttara. Yeah.
Uttara.
So, Parikshit Maharaj is son of Abhimanyu and Uttara, right? If you remember the story, like where Aswathama, right, he wanted to finish the whole dynasty of Arjun, right? Because Abhimanyu is son of Arjun, right? And so he shoot a Brahmastra to finish Parikshit Maharaj, because Parikshit Maharaj was in womb at that time, in the womb of Uttara. Okay, so Ashwathama throws a Brahmastra. Lord Krishna Bhagwan goes into the womb of Uttara and saves Parikshit Maharaj. Okay. So Parikshit Maharaj has already seen the darshan of Krishna Bhagwan, right, in the womb. And he also says Parikshit Maharaj, that's where he is also Vishnu Datta, like he's protected by Lord Vishnu. Yeah. So that's what. So Sukhdev Maharaj is, Sukhdev Goswami ji is telling to Vishnu Datta Parikshit Maharaj, yeah, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was pleased by the great sages at that sacrifice. Yeah. That sacrifice which is being done by Maharaj Nabhi. Yeah. And all the priests. And so he then decided to personally exhibit the method of exhibiting religious principles. And how do you do that? Personally exhibit that? He told uh, he told Maharaj Nabhi that he will appear in the womb of Merudevi. Yeah. So that's what happened. Yeah. So consequently, he appeared as the son of Merudevi in his original spiritual form. And when a Lord appears, right, all the incarnations of Lord are above the modes of material nature. Yeah. What are the modes of material nature?
Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and Satoguna.
Right. Yeah. Three modes of material nature. Everyone, like conditioned souls, we are all influenced by Satogun or Rajogun or Tamogun, right? Maybe in different proportions. But as a conditioned souls, we are all impacted by the modes of material nature. That's where we get engaged into karma. That's why we get engaged into the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, right? But what is being mentioned is the original spiritual form, the Lord appeared, which is above the modes. Yeah, the modes of material nature does not influence the appearance of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So let's actually yeah, see, it says that when the Supreme Lord appears or descends as an incarnation within this material world, he does not accept a body made up of three modes of material nature. Yeah, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun, right? And I think so. This is it. So here the son of Maharaj Nabhi Rishabh Dev appeared on this earth to preach the principles of religion. Actually, if you see, the Jain religion has been the descendant of Maharaj Rishabh Dev. So Rishabh Dev is actually none other than incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Yeah. And like we had seen, the Lord Kapil appeared before, right? That Lord Kapil appeared to Devhuti and Kardamuni. Similarly, Rishabh Dev appears to Maharaj Nabhi and Merudevi and appeared on this earth to preach the principles of religion. That will be explained in the 5th chapter of this 5th canto, right? So that's what we are going to read next. Yeah. And this ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 5th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Rishabh Dev's appearance in the womb of Merudevi, the wife of King Nabhi. Bolo Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So we'll start the chapter 4. Yeah. And the chapter 4 is about the characteristics of Rishabh Dev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So we are going to read about Lord Rishabh Dev in this session. So let's read the summary to start with. Hare Krishna, Ajay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
In this chapter, Rishabh Dev, the son of Maharaja Nabhi, begot 100 sons, and during the reign of these sons, the world was very happy in all respects. When Rishabh Dev appeared as the son of Maharaja Nabhi, he was appreciated by the people as the most exalted and beautiful personality of that age. His poise, influence, strength, enthusiasm, bodily luster, and other transcendental qualities were beyond compare. The word Rishabh refers to the best or the supreme. Due to the super excellent attributes of son of Maharaj Nabhi, the king named his son Rishabh, or the best. His influence was incomparable. Although there was a scarcity of rain, Rishabh Dev did not care for Indra, the king of heaven, who is in the charge of supplying rain. Through his own potency, Rishabh Dev sumptuously covered Ajan, Ajanabha, Ajanabha, which ample rain. Upon receiving Rishabh Dev, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as his son King Nabhi began to raise him very carefully. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Tarun? Tarun?
After that, he entrusted the ruling power to him and retiring from family life, lived at Bhadriksharama, completely engaged in the worship of Vasudeva, the Supreme Lord. To follow social customs, Lord Rishabdeva for a while became a student in the Gurukula, and after returning, he followed the orders of his Guru and accepted a wife named Jayanti, who had been given to him by the king of heaven, Indra. He begot 100 sons in the womb of Jayanti. Of these 100 sons, the eldest was known as Bharata. Since the reign of Maharaj Bharata, this planet has been called Bharatvarsha. Rishabdeva's other sons were headed by Kusavarta, Ilayavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Bhadrasena, Indraspark, Vidarbha, and Kikata. There were also other sons named Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabhuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Kamasa, and Kharabhajana. Instead of ruling the kingdom, these 9 became mendicant preachers of Krishna consciousness, following the religious precept of the Bhagavatam. Their characteristics and activities are described in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam during the talks between Vasudeva and Narada at Kurukshetra. To teach the general populace, King Rishabdeva performed many sacrifices and taught his sons how to rule the citizens. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so that was a summary of this chapter, chapter 4, about Lord Rishabdev. Yeah. So we'll read the first shlok. Hare Krishna, Sachin.
Hare Krishna. अथ हम उमुत्पत्त्यै वाभिव्य वैजामान भगवलक्षणं साम्यो पशम वैराग्ये श्वार्य महाविभूति भीरूनि दिनमेध मानानुभवा भावं प्रकृत्यः प्रजा ब्राह्मण देवताश्च वनित लसम वनयातीतरां जगृत्तुः. Please scroll down here. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, as soon as the Lord was born as the son of Maharaj Nabhi, he manifested symptoms of the Supreme Lord, such as marks on the bottoms of his feet, the flag, thunderbolt, etc. This son was equal to everyone and very peaceful. He could control his senses and his mind, and possessing all opulence. He did not hanker for material enjoyment. Endowed with all these attributes, the son of Maharaj Nabhi became more powerful day after day. Due to this, the citizens, learned brahmanas, demigods, and ministers wanted Rishabh Dev to be appointed ruler of the earth. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So a couple of things mentioned here is one is Lord Rishabdev appeared. His characteristics are described, right? As he was born, you know, how he had the control on the senses and the mind, right? And then how the marks on the bottom of his feet. Yeah. So there are always distinct attributes when the Lord appears, is what is being mentioned. And yeah, it's clearly like, you know, Samyo Pasham Vairagya Aishwarya Mahavibhuti, right? So this is how Lord Rishabdev is described. And the appointed ruler of the earth. So at that time, the whole thing was Bharatvarsh, right? The whole earth, not just what part we know as India, right? But the whole, all the 7 continents, right? Nisha?
Tasya va itaham varshamana variyasha brahatra lokena chodasa balena shriya yashasa virya Sauryabhyam cha pita Rishabh itidam nama chakara. When the son of Maharaj Nabhi became visible, he evinced all good qualities described by the great poets, namely a well-built body with all the symptoms of the Godhead, prowess, strength, beauty, name, fame, influence, and enthusiasm. When the father, Maharaj Nabhi, saw all these qualities, he thought his son to be the best of human beings or the supreme being. Therefore, he gave him the name Rishabh. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. This is to accept someone as God or as an incarnation of God. One must observe the symptoms of God in his body. All the symptoms were found in the body of Maharaj Nabhi's extraordinarily powerful son. His body was well structured and he displayed all the transcendental qualities. He showed great influence and he could control his mind and senses. Consequently, he was named Rishabh, which indicates that he was the supreme living being. Yeah. Ajay?
यस्य हीन्द्रः स्पर्धमानो भगवान् वर्षे न ववर्ष तद्वधार्य भगवान् नृभ देवो योगेश्वरः प्रहस्यात्म योग गया गमयाया स्वर्ष भजनाभम नामाभ्य वर्षत. Indra, the king of heaven, who is very materially opulent, became envious of King Rishabh. Consequently, he stopped pouring water on the planet planet known as Bharatvarsh. At that time, the Supreme Lord Rishabh, the master of all mystic power, understood King Indra's purpose and he smiled a little. Then, by his own prowess, through Yoga Maya, his internal potency, he profusely poured water upon his own place, which was known as Ajanabha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So activities of Lord Rishabh is what is being described. Yeah. Tarun?
Abhistu yathabhilasitam suprajaswatvam avaruddhyati pramoda bhara vihavalo gadaksharaya gira swaryam vidhita naraloka sadharmam Bhagavatam Purana Purusham Maya Vilasita Matir Vatsa Tateti Sanuragam Upalayan Param Nivritam Upagataha. Due to getting a perfect son, according to his desire, King Nabhi was always overwhelmed with transcendental bliss and was very affectionate to his son. It was with ecstasy and a faltering voice that he addressed him. My dear son, my darling. This mentality was brought about by Yogamaya, whereby he accepted the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Father, as his own son. Out of his supreme goodwill, the Lord became his son and dealt with everyone as if he were an ordinary human being. Thus, King Nabhi began to raise his transcendental son with great affection, and he was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss, joy, and devotion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ajay?
Vidita Nuragam Paur Prakriti Janpado Raja Nabhiratmajam Samay Setu rakshayam bhishishcha brahmaneshu panidhaya sah Merudevya Vishalayam Prasanni Punen Tapsa Samadhi Yogin Nar Narayan Akhyam Bhagwantam Vasudev Mupasin Kalin Tanmhim Manam Vap. King Nabhi understood that his son Rishabh was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaja Nabhi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmanas who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaja Nabhi and his wife Merudevi went to Bhadrakrashram in Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in the austerities and penance with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is Krishna, in his plenary explanation. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaja Nabhi also was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So basically, we know that King Nabhi, Maharaj Nabhi and Merudevi, yeah, had the son Rishabh Dev. As they prayed to Lord Vishnu to have a son like Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu appears as an incarnation of himself as a Rishabh Dev, yeah, Lord Rishabh Dev. And then Maharaj Nabhi appoints him as the ruler of the whole earth, and then goes to Badrika Ashram, yeah. Badrinath in the Himalaya mountains for tapasya. So, one thing which we should also see is that even the Maharaj, king, right? And they used to be, once their kingdom is done, they will go and do the tapasya, like expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. Yeah. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. So that's one thing to see, like even in those, like even if he was a big king, they will leave all the whole kingdom and then go and do the tapasya, because that's the ultimate goal of human life. Yeah. So Maharaj Nabhi and Merudevi both went and they did tapasya for Narayan. And by doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabhi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. Yeah. That's the only way to get to the Vaikuntha. Yeah. I mean, there are certain things which is, it says here that like it says here, it is the king's duty to see that everyone engages in his occupational duty according to Vedic principles. In addition, retirement at the end of life is compulsory. Maharaj Nabhi, although still a king, retired from family life and went with his wife to a place called Badrika Ashram in the Himalayas, where the deity Narayan is worshipped. The words Prasanna Nipunena Tapasya indicate that the king accepted all kinds of austerity very expertly and jubilantly. He did not at all mind living his comfortable life at home, although he was the emperor. Despite undergoing severe austerities and penances, he felt very pleased at Badrika Ashram, and he did everything these expertly. In this way, they are expertly, right? In this way, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, Samadhi Yoga, always thinking of Krishna, Vasudev, Maharaj Nabhi attained success at the end of his life and was promoted to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Lok. Yeah. So, how the success is defined at the end of his life was not because he was the king, right? But because he could attain the Samadhi, because he could always be thinking of Krishna at the end and promoted to Vaikuntha Lok. Yeah. So very nicely described. Again, let's read this purport. Pretty nice purport. So, Hare Krishna, Rinaji.
Hare Krishna, Bhaiya. Hare Krishna, Bhaiya. This is the way of Vedic life. One must stop the process of repeated birth and death and return home, back to Godhead. The word Tan Mahimanam, Avap are significant in this regard. Sridhar Swami says that Mahima means liberation in this life. We should act in such a way in this life that after giving up this body, we will become liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This is called Jivan Mukti. Sri Virar Viraraghav Acharya states that in the Chandayog Upanishad, there are 8 symptoms of Jivan Mukta, a person who is already liberated even when living in this body. The first symptom of one so liberated is that he is freed from all sinful activity, which is apahat pap, as long as one is under the clutches of Maya and the material energy. One has to engage in sinful activity. Bhagavad Gita describes such people as dushkritna, which indicates that they are always engaged in sinful activity. One who is liberated in this life does not commit any sinful activities. Sinful activity involves illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Another symptom of a liberated person is vichara, which indicates that he is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Another symptom is vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take on any more material bodies which are destined to die. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeat birth and death. Another symptom is vishoka, which indicates that he is callous to material distress and happiness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Sachin?
Another is Vijigatsa, which indicates that he no longer desires material enjoyment. Another symptom is Apipata, which means that he has no desire other than to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, his dear most pursuable Lord. A further symptom is Satyakama, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the Supreme Truth, Krishna. He does not want anything else. He is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna. First of all, he does not desire anything for his material benefit. And secondly, if he desires anything at all, he simply desires to serve the Supreme Lord. That desire is fulfilled by Lord's grace. This is called Satya Sankalpa. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti points out that the word Mahima means returning to the spiritual world, back home, back to Vaikuntha. Sri Sukadeva says that the word Mahima means that the devotee attains the qualities of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Sadharma, or the same quality. Just as Krishna is never born and never dies, his devotees who return to Godhead never die and never take birth within the material world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So some various qualities are described, but the most important part is the devotion to Lord Sri Krishna. Yeah. And that's I think in Kali Yuga, what we have read again and again is that the jap, the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right, is what will purify the material conditioned souls. Yeah. And that's the yajna of Kali Yuga. That's how we do the chanting, right? That's what has been mentioned. Next, Reenaji.
यस्यः पाण्डवे श्लोकावुदाहरन्ति को नु तत्कर्म राजर्षेर्नाभेरन्वाचरेत् पुमान् अपत्य अपत्यताम गाद्यस्य हरि शुद्धेन कर्मणा. Sorry about that. O Maharaj Parikshit, to glorify Maharaj Nabhi, the old sages composed 2 verses. One of them is this: who can attain the perfection of Maharaj Nabhi? Who can attain his activities? Because of his devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead agreed to become his son. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so this is how, like, of course, how Maharaj Nabhi has been described is like who can attain his activities? Just because of his devotional, the great devotional service, what did he achieve? Right? Like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, agreed to become his son. Yeah. That's how, Hari Shuddhena Karmana. And that's how Maharaj Nabhi is described. Yeah. Ajay?
Sure. Brahmana युवन्यः कुतो नाभिर्विप्रा मंगलम पूजिताः यस्य बहिर्षि यज्ञेशं दर्शाय मासुरोजसः. The second prayer is this: who is a better worshipper of Brahmanas than Maharaja Nabhi? Because he worshipped the qualified Brahmanas to their full satisfaction, the Brahmanas, by their Brahminical powers, showed Maharaja Nabhi the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan in person. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Yajnesham Darsyam Surojasaya. He got the darshan of Lord Narayan in person. Yeah. Arun?
अतः भगवानं ऋषभदेव स्ववर्षं कर्मक्षेत्रम् अनुमन्यमानः प्रदर्शित गुरुकुलवासो लब्धा वरेर्गुरुभिरनुज्ञातो ग्रामदीनानां धर्मान् अनुशिक्षमानो जयन्तनम् इन्द्रदत्तनम् उभज्ञलक्षणं कर्म समानयत्नतम् अभियुञ्जनं आत्मजनम् आत्मसमाननं सतं जनयम् asa. After Nabhi Maharaja departed for Bhadraksharama, the Supreme Lord, Rishabdeva understood that his kingdom was his field of activities. He therefore showed himself as an example of and taught the duties of a householder by first accepting brahmacharya under the direction of spiritual masters. He also went to live at the spiritual master's place, Gurukula. After his education was finished, he gave gifts, Guru Dakshina, to his spiritual masters and then accepted the life of a householder. He took a wife named Jayanti and begot 100 sons who were as powerful and qualified as he himself. His wife Jayanti had been offered to him by Indra, the king of heaven. Rishabdeva and Jayanti performed householder life in an exemplary way, carrying out ritualistic activities ordained by the Shruti and Smriti Shastra. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so of course, King Rishabdeva was none other than incarnation of Lord Vishnu, right? And then he demonstrated the activities of a householder, is what is being mentioned. Nice purpose. So let's just quickly read this, Sachin.
Being an incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishabdeva had nothing to do with material affairs. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. The purpose of an incarnation is to liberate his devotees and to stop the demonic activities of non-devotees. These are the two functions of the Supreme Lord when he incarnates. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that in order to preach, one must live a practical life and show people how to do things. अपनी आचारी भक्ति सिखाएं sabare. One cannot teach others unless he behaves the same way himself. Rishabdev was an ideal king and he took his education in the Gurukula. Although he was already educated because of the Supreme Personality of Lord is omniscient. Although Rishabdeva had nothing to learn from Gurukula, he went there just to teach the people in general how to take an education from the right source, from Vedic teachers. He then entered householder life and lived according to the principles of Vedic knowledge, Shruti and Smriti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Ajay?
Sure. In his Bhakti Rasamitra Sindhu 1.2101, Srila Rupa Goswami, quoting the Skanda Puran, states, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Panchkatra Vidhim Veena ekantiki harer bhaktir utpatyav kalpate. Human society must follow the instructions received from Shruti and Smriti, Vedic literature. Practically applied in life, this is worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to Pancharika Vidhi. Every human being must advance his spiritual life and at the end return home back to Godhead. Maharaja Rishabh strictly followed all these principles. He remained an ideal grihasth and he taught his sons how to become perfect in his spiritual life. There are some examples of how he ruled the earth and completed his mission as an incarnation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So few important things mentioned. I think there's some questions came up, right? As a grihasth, how can you go back to Godhead, right? So Maharaj Rishabh has shown that, yeah, and how you can still be perfect in spiritual life. But what is most importantly mentioned here, right, is that every human being must advance his spiritual life and at the end return home back to Godhead. That's the purpose of human being. That's what we have been reading again and again and again. That every human being must advance his spiritual life. And how do we advance our spiritual life? Yeah, by doing the devotional service, right? And how do we do devotional service? We saw those 9 ways of doing it. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishmaranam, Vishnu Archanam, right? And then at the end, return home back to Godhead. And once we go back to Godhead, you don't come back to the material world, you don't get into this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, and all that, right? And that's what Maharaja Rishabh, who is incarnation of Lord Vishnu, also taught us. Yeah. So we are going to pause here. Most 10 o'clock, 11. So, all right. Tomorrow we'll complete this chapter 4th. Yeah. Shabde. So let's do this. And then since this is about Rishabh, there's a nice bhajan. And if you know, the Lord Rishabh is that's where the Jain religion actually started forming. Yeah. So we'll just see a quick bhajan for like few minutes, 3-4 minutes. And then we will. So let's just see this.
Kesariya, kesariya, kesariya bol, kara kesariya duleva mara bol. तुम्हारा परचो पुरावी सवनी आशा पूरी करनारा हो मेवाड़ नाना तुम्हारा परचो पुरावी सवनी आशा पूरी करनारा केसरिया तारी ध्वजा केसर निकरू पूजा केसरिया तारी ध्वजा केसर निकरू पूजा कार्या पापा जयकारा दादा सवने वाला करो काला वाला 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 केसरिया 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 बोल कारा केसरिया दुलेवा मारा बोल तारो मेरो भरायो जगमा दादा तू तो तो पूजायो हो आठमनो तारो मेरो बरायो जगमा दादा तू तो पूजायो हीरो नि करुआंगी सोना नि करुआंगी केसर नि करुआंगी चांदी नि करुआंगी कार्या पापा नु जयकारा दादा सौने वाला करू काला वाला 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 केसरिया 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 बोल कारा केसरिया दुलेवा मारा बोल दूलेवा तारु नाम केसरिया तारु नाम दूलेवा तारु नाम केसरिया तारु नाम कार्या पापा नि जयकारा दादा सौने वाला करू काला वाला दादा सौने वाला करू काला वाला दादा सौने वाला करू काला वाला दादा सौने वाला करू काला वाला
All right, so it's a small bhajan on Lord Rishabh Dev. Think so. Cool. Think a nice long weekend. And we'll see you back on Monday, 10 p.m. Yeah. Chalo. Hare Krishna. I had last week I was in Vancouver and met Sri Govindji Maharaj actually. So that was really nice. Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's the one who is managing the the whole Ram Janambhoomi construction thing in Ayodhya. So I think there's some date they have decided in January. So PM Modiji will come and inaugurate the Ram Janambhoomi. So that will happen in January 24. I think, and he was there when Modiji was doing the inauguration, the Pavan, right, of the Janambhoomi. So he was the only one down his stairs along with the two priests. What was going on? Yeah, so it was pretty nice. Actually, I hope I'll quickly just show a picture. Just 1 second, yeah. Just take 1 minute.
So are we getting together on Monday or Tuesday?
Monday, na? Why not?
Monday is Memorial Day weekend. Right?
Oh, achha. I see. Yeah, you tell me who is not available. If we are all available, we can get together on Monday. Otherwise, what do you think? So whatever, who is not available on Monday?
I might not be available, but yeah.
Not? Okay. Tarun, Sachin?
Too early to say.
Okay, so maybe, I mean, I know we have been just, that's okay. So we can skip on Monday then. Yeah? I mean, this is the core group. So whatever we decide is what's going to happen.
Nice.
So here is Sri Govindji Giri Maharaj. And I stayed with him pretty much, 4 days. Went with him to all these people's houses and all that. He was like, I mean, some of the videos, like, he was pretty much, please, like, look, I'll show you very quickly, 1 second. Like, he's pretty well known there, right? So, I mean, he's very well, he's 75 years old, by the way.
Wow.
Can you see that? Like, he doesn't look like 75 years old. You just that. And he, he like
Maybe that's why they are getting the life of Satyug.
No, he's the topmost saint in India, by the way. This, like, I mean, he even calls the political shots actually, like, because he's just directly connected to the PMO. You see this, right? This is event, and see how, like, see that 75? Just a glimpse. So, all right. Yeah, he has pravachans on everything pretty much. So, I don't know if anyone had got connection to that Gita Parivar. You know, everyone was learning how to read Gita during COVID times, how to pronounce Gita shloks and all that. I don't know if you came through that. So there's a Gita Parivar. Everyone was learning how to read Gita. And there are 6.5 lakh log in 152 countries. So that he started that. Like Govindaji Giri Maharaj started that. He has some like what is Vedic Vidyalaya, 36 Vedic Vidyalayas in India, different locations which are running. He also the vice president of the Krishna Janam Bhumi in Mathura, right? They are trying to do something there. So anyways, it was nice to spend some time there with him last week.
Wow,
Yeah,
really experienced.
it's pretty nice. I mean, it's hard to get those sense, you know, spend some time. India, you cannot even go near, like. And whenever you get a chance, you know, just spend some time with them. Interesting. So Monday, then we will not do it.
Like, did he like tell like what was his like? Did he give some mantras or did he give some principles? Something? Did he like talk about something there?
So he talked about Srimad Bhagavatam only, the Bhagavatam. So he gave 4 days lecture. He had 4 days satsang there in the temple, 2 hours each evening on Srimad Bhagavatam. First day he spoke about Lord Kapil. And then he spoke about the 10th skanda, you know. We are still on 4th. 10th skanda about Lord Krishna, basically. And the message is still the same, right? Devotional service is how above it is above everything. That's the message always, right? And but he mentioned few things which were very interesting. Like one is Sukhdev Goswamiji, right? So we are reading about Sukhdev Goswamiji's reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, right? But we know Sukhdev Goswamiji was a big brahmachari, right? He's son of Vyasdevji. And he was full of vairagya. Like he's full of vairagya, no material attraction at all. Right? Like he was even higher than Vyasdevji himself in terms of brahmacharya and vairagya. But Srimad Bhagavatam even attracted him and he became Lord Krishna's devotee. Right? So that's one thing, like nothing in the world attracted him, but when he was listening to Srimad Bhagavatam shlok, he got attracted and then he learned it from Vyasdevji. And then he recited to Parikshit Maharaj. One thing. The second thing he also mentioned, like how soft is Lord, right? Komal. And he gives one example in Ramayana where he says that like Sita ji is like skeptical of doing Lord Ram's like charan service. Like she's not going there to touch it because she thinks his feet are so komal that he shouldn't get hurt. Like, you know, that's what he says. So think about like Sita Ma, who herself is so soft, and she's thinking that Sri Ram's feet, lotus feet, are so komal that she shouldn't get, you know, when she's touching her. So like this is Komal Chit Kripalu Raghurai, right? We have seen. So I think a lot of things he mentioned very nicely. I think a lot of details. And yeah, he actually, so he knows 6 languages. He knows Marathi, Gujarati, Sanskrit, English, Rajasthani, of course, Hindi. So his main thing is in Pune. Sachin, you are from Pune, right? So his main corporate office is in Pune. I mean, corporate headquarters. And Dr. Sonamji karke the, he was also there with him. He is based in Pune. Actually, so if you should actually inquire in Pune, Sri Govind Dev Ji Giri Maharaj, you will know all that actually. Yeah. So anyway, it was nice. Nice. He's like, I mean, he's also, a lot of politicians come to him also, right? Like, he had already told the PMO office that you guys are not getting more than 60 seats in Karnataka. So he's already sent that to PMO office. And he also told Modi ji to talk to a specific person. But then he says what Modi ji did was he took that and he only asked the president of the party to talk to this guy. But he said that went wrong because he actually wanted to talk about the president. But Modi ji asked president to talk, and that's where they badly lost because I think there was something not going right there. Anyways, some politics. But otherwise, he does katha in Rishikesh, Vrindavan time. On his 75th birthday, Baba Ramdev was speaking actually. And he walks and runs like us, man. He's like, yeah, which was really interesting. So, he did not eat, he was not sitting on the table to eat the dinner or lunch. He always sat down with the thing. So, very, very simple, very normal, right? So that was the message, second, pretty much. And his lectures are there on YouTube, of course. If you just search on YouTube, you'll get thousands of posts. Yeah. But there are a lot of great saints actually. Like Swami Mukundanandji is coming second week of June in Raleigh. He's also great. He's great. We had Dr. Vedanti ji last first week of May actually. I know you couldn't show up, but he is again another like great saint. So like very, all the saints, the real saints who are there, which is very amazing. Like they do like katha every day. The only thing they do is recite the Bhagavad Nam, right? So every day they do this. I mean, just think about it. So it's always good to go and listen to them sometimes. Just sit down there and just, it may be the same message, but just being part of that satsang is good at times. So when you see like some good saints are coming, we should use that opportunity. And in India, those are all big saints. Like in India, you cannot even go near, right? You know that. Like where there are thousands of people. Here you get opportunity to at least go and talk and meet, which is nice. If it's a Bollywood actor, you will see like lakhs of people coming there and spending time. Materialistic world, right? But those saints are very rare to get.
Yeah, somehow, the learned people, they don't get that kind of attention.
Yeah.
And the crooks, they get all attention and then they cheat people, and that takes the
That's
trust.
another thing. Yeah, you are right. Even in this business, like, they make it a business. And then they get the attention, and then everybody also gets like, they shy away from this because then they learn, hey, somebody is like this, somebody is like that. They create a whole impact on the trust and confidence of people.
Yeah.
So that's always there. Yeah. There will always be such elements. So. Yeah. It's okay. But I think we are doing good. Our Srimad Bhagavatam, we are slowly progressing. So it's nice. Thank you so much to everyone for joining together, man. So we can read this, So very nice. All right. So I'm actually in Dallas today.
So you are in Dallas right now?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, but I didn't want to miss this because I know we've been missing last week also we missed. So I wanted to make sure that we continue this. Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see on Tuesday then.
Yeah, because Monday even I'm doubtful that I'll be available.
That's fine. Yeah, it's a long weekend. I think by default we should not do it on long weekends. So we'll see you on Tuesday,
Sure.
10 p.m. Yes, yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.